I think you're amazing.
You are too, Henry.
Thank you so much. Well, Perry, you are awesome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate you what you're doing too, buddy.
Well, thank you. Because if you allow the world to define you, if you allow friends to define you, if you allow your spouse to define you, or anybody to define you outside of how God sees you, that does open the door to rejection. God bless you. I hope y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you, Brother Henry.
Thank
God
you.
bless you too. Thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today I would like to come to you and talk to you from the subject, can two toxic people maintain a relationship? Can two toxic people maintain a relationship? And before we even get started, why don't you share this video? Hit the share button right now, because I want as many people as possible to share this video, share this episode with your friends on Facebook, with your family, co-workers, whoever would have an interest in watching this, because I believe that all of our input and what we have to say matters as it relates to this subject, as I know mine does as well. So hopefully there's something I would say that would inspire you to think differently, to remove yourself from toxic people, from toxic relationships, toxic marriages, whatever toxicity is at. Learn how to remove yourself from those areas to maintain happiness and peace in your life. But I think it's a really good question. What do you think? Can two toxic people maintain a relationship? A toxic relationship is one that makes one feel unsupported, misunderstood, demeaned, dehumanized, or attacked. Relationship consists of two things. You're either in a healthy relationship or you are in a unhealthy relationship. I think the problem is we don't really sit back and think about it. We don't really look at our relationships in that way. Am I really in a healthy relationship or am I in an unhealthy relationship? And many times in a toxic relationship may not even be, and many times those who are involved in a toxic relationship may not even be aware that they are in a toxic relationship. But the question is, can two people maintain two toxic people, that is, maintain a relationship? I believe many people love to throw that word toxic around. So I want to take my time with today's lesson and pretty much just let's talk about what that word toxic means. What's the definition of that? The word toxic means very harmful, unpleasant, pervasive. In human behavior, toxic is used to describe someone who causes distress in others through negative words and actions. That's what toxic means. My question to you is, if you were in a toxic relationship, and this is a very important question, if you were in a toxic relationship with an individual, would you know it? Would you be aware of it? And if you were toxic, I'm talking to you, would you know it? These are very important questions that must be addressed. And if you're not aware that you're toxic, things won't get better for you. They won't at all. I asked a few friends their thoughts about this subject and the question, can two toxic people maintain a relationship? And I love the response that I received from some of the people. One person said they can, just not grateful. Another individual said, in my experience, you're not just playing a game on a cycle. After so many brief periods of feeling like things are okay, one of us eventually gaslight the other in some way, and it was toxic and hostile. And after a while, and it's ongoing like that until someone breaks the cycle. I like that. Next individual said, no, eventually everyone tires out and seeks peace and healing. Another person said, sounds like a nightmare of a relationship. I know people who have maintained decades of dysfunction. It is not pretty. Another individual says only if they want to keep being miserable. I thought that was some great responses and very true. And I agree with what most have said. It is possible. But it will be one rough ride unless one decides to end the relationship or the marriage to pursue peace. Some of you have decided to do that. If you did, I applaud you. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to be in situations that's toxic. You don't have to be with a toxic person. There is a lot of things you just don't have to deal with being in a relationship with a toxic person, such as controlling behavior, bad attitude, consistent fighting, gaslighting, lying, unfaithfulness, abuse, lack of communication, anger, playing the victim card, taking things personally, never take ownership of one's behavior, reverse psychology, and all these things. You don't have to deal with it. It is birthed from toxicity. That's where it's birthed from. And you have a choice today to look at your relationship and say, is my relationship exhibiting these type of things? And if so, you have a choice. Do I stay here or do I leave? It's all about what you feel like you deserve. If you feel like you deserve those things, you're going to stay there. But if you're like me and say, you know what? No, I don't deserve this. I don't have to put up with this. You're going to pack your bags and you're going to move on. Because you don't deserve that. If you don't know or can identify it, it is possible for you to fall prey to it. But after today's episode, you have no excuse to stay with a toxic person. You have no excuse. You'll fall prey to it. Why? Because you're vulnerable. You're open to it. And if you're with a toxic person, you need to be aware of the signs. And sometimes you don't know the signs. Sometimes you just don't know. You cannot, under any circumstances, change a toxic person. And if you're trying to change them, good luck. And if you're both toxic, better luck. I've seen two toxic people try to change each other. It's like putting two magnets on the opposite side. They will never connect. Change starts with you. Stop trying to change the other person. If I'm going to make a change, I'm going to make a change. I'm doing it for me. Not the other person. Doing it for me. I fully don't understand why one is toxic, but it can be past experiences. Maybe a history of abuse. I'm talking about right now. I often wonder why are some people toxic. Sometimes it's past experiences. Sometimes a history of abuse. Maybe a bad past relationship. Maybe it was childhood trauma. There are various reasons why one may be toxic. But if it's not dealt with, it can create huge issues in that relationship. Very big issues if it's not dealt with. If you are toxic, you have to make a change yourself, and most importantly, see your need for change. Because until you see your need for change, you will never change. You have to see your need for change. You have to see yourself as toxic. Like, man, I'm a toxic person. Look at yourself. Look at your life. Are you causing distress in people's life? Are you causing misery in people's life? Because people who are toxic simply don't care that they're doing that to you. They don't care. They're toxic. It's important to remember that you cannot change them, and I said that earlier, and that any attempt to do so will only fail, but will take away their responsibility to make change themselves. That is so true. You may not be able to change what they do, but you can change what you do with it. You can't change what they do, but you can change what you do with it. You do not have to stay with a toxic person. One must make a change. One can make a change. I've also seen situations where one was toxic, but I've also seen situations where one person was toxic and their other partner was not toxic. And the one who wasn't toxic at the end ended up toxic. Why? Because you've heard the old saying, misery loves company. Misery does love company. It is possible that if you hang out with someone long enough who is bitter, who is angry, who's hateful, who's toxic, there is a great possibility it'll rub off on you and you'll find yourself being miserable, angry, toxic, mad, because that's who you associate yourself with. Sometimes you become who you hang around. Just like that old quote, you are what you eat, you are who you hang around most of the time. Because it's putting negative and bad influences on you. Now listen to this. It's important also to know that everyone isn't toxic. That's why I talked about earlier. A lot of people like throw that word around. Oh, they're toxic, they're toxic, they're toxic. Everyone isn't toxic. Sometimes your girl is just having a bad day. Sometimes your husband is just having a bad day, or someone is having a moment. We are quick to tell our spouses, you're toxic, you're narcissistic. No, my friend, hit the brakes. Take a deep breath. They're not toxic, they're just having a moment. It doesn't mean that they are toxic, they're just having a bad day. But, listen to this, if the behavior is ongoing, if you see a pattern of behavior like this, as someone said earlier, a cycle, that's where it should be a little concerning. So let's be aware of that and not rush to name calling or labeling people toxic. Are there toxic people in the world? Yes, but not everyone is toxic, while some are. Some are. You also need to know this, that toxic people will leave you feeling bad. They'll leave you feeling edgy, confused, guilty, frustrated, and overextended. They will leave you feeling that way. These people can undermine your confidence, leave you feeling depleted after being around them. I hope I'm helping somebody today. Make you feel like you did something wrong, or make you feel like you don't know yourself. These are traits of toxic people. Do you know yourself? Because if you don't know yourself, you will become vulnerable to these things. If you don't know yourself, you will become vulnerable to these things. Edgy, confused, frustrated, overextended, depleted. They will make you feel that way. And if you don't know who you are, you will pretty much adapt to an identity that's not truly who you are. But like I said, when you don't know who you are, when you don't know yourself, you become vulnerable to what other people attach to you. Toxicity robs you of your identity. When you don't know who you are, you will accept these behaviors as normal. Oh, it's normal that he talks to me this way. It's normal that she yells at me. That is not normal. It's not normal. It's also important to know that if you think you are in a relationship with someone who fits this description or definition of toxic, you should take steps to separate and protect yourself from that person. Oh, I'm just going to pray about it. I'm just going to hang around, see if he or she going to change. No, take a step back. Take a step back. Separate and protect yourself. I'm protecting myself from you because I don't want to become like you. I'm protecting myself from you because I don't want to be in a toxic relationship. I don't want to be with a toxic person. Go get help. Do it for you. Make a change for you. If that means filing a divorce, do it. If that means leaving a friendship, do it. If that means isolating yourself from them, do it. Whatever you have to do, look for the nearest exit. Do not stay there. It's not worth it. Especially if they are not trying to make a change. Because all a toxic person wants to do at the end of the day is bring you down. And their motive is never and their motive is never to bring you up or motivate you. They do not have your best interest at heart, and they never will. This is the objective of a toxic person. And I understand most people don't like to be labeled that word, but if you're toxic, let's just be real. You're just toxic. And that goes for me, that goes for anyone. But the objective of a toxic person, I would like to compare in a symbolic way to crabs. Have you ever seen a bunch of crabs in a bucket and you got one trying to get out and that one crab brings it down? That's the way toxic people is. As soon as you try to get up, they try to bring you down. This is how they operate. And they operate like this in friendships, in relationships, in marriage. And you need to be aware of it. That's why I'm doing this show today. It can be very difficult to back away from someone you have been in a relationship with. It can be difficult to walk away. It can be difficult to protect yourself, as I said a few minutes ago. To protect and separate yourself from it, it can be difficult, especially when you really love that person. You see what toxicity is doing to them. Yet, you have tried to communicate how their behavior impacts you. And those discussions that you've had with them about their behavior and how it's impacting you in a negative way, it seems to be bearing no fruit. It's time to be proactive and protect yourself. You tell them, and they either make excuses for their behavior or your conversation is just going in one ear and out the other. They do not care. And since they don't care, that can be your sign to leave the relationship. Don't allow toxic people to keep you on the hook. Some of them think that they can keep you around no matter what and treat you however they want to treat you. They may use manipulation. They may use guilt or crisis to keep you on the hook. Guilt is a major factor, especially if you're trying to leave or exit that toxic behavior or that relationship. They will try to make you feel very bad. They do this a lot. But my encouragement to you is that you know who you are. Remember I asked you that question earlier? Do you know yourself? You know who you are. You know what you deserve. You know what you want. Don't fall for it. Don't allow their games and guilt to keep you on the hook. If you can walk away, walk away. Empathy, however, does not mean condoning inappropriate, unhealthy behavior. Setting clear, firm boundaries means that you value and care about yourself. I care about myself to let you go. I have to protect myself. I can't be involved with you. I love you from a distance, but I can't deal with you. You have to take care of yourself and protect yourself from toxic people. You have to. And when you do that, you will have a bountiful and fruitful life. But it all starts with change. It all starts with change. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. I really enjoyed my time with you. If you enjoyed what we had to share, please consider sharing this video right now. Follow us on Facebook, The Brother Henry and You Show. Like our page, our fan page. Also visit www.youtube.com/HenryHarris100. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Well, Perry, you are awesome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate you what you're doing too, buddy.
Well, thank you. Because if you allow the world to define you, if you allow friends to define you, if you allow your spouse to define you or anybody to define you outside of how God sees you, that does open the door to rejection. God bless you. I hope y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you, Brother Henry.
Thank you.
God bless you too. Thank you for having me.